Hello, this is Broyar, and welcome back to another episode of Civilization 6 A to Z, where I'll be discussing thoughts, strategy, and rankings with our panel of experts. Today I'm coming to you live from Bogota, the capital of Gran Colombia, where I hear that we have Simón Bolívar set to do an exclusive interview later in the show. Gran Colombia is led by President Simón Bolívar, and he brings a powerful bonus to his civilization. His leader bonus is called Campaña Admirable. Entering a new era grants a Commandant General, a unique type of great person. This general gives +5 combat strength to owned land units within 2 tiles, irrespective of era. The combat strength can stack with the combat strength bonus of great generals as well. It is important to note that when this civilization was originally introduced, this unit also gave +1 movement to units around it, but that was nerfed in a recent build. Let's go ahead and bring in our panel now to discuss the rankings for this leader bonus. First up, we have General Lieutenant, who's going to give us his thoughts on the domination strength of this bonus. Now, General, I know that you have been excited all week to talk about this bonus.
Absolutely, Broyar. I went to general school with a lot of these commandants, and I know firsthand the incredible power and leadership that they bring to the Gran Colombian military. Each of these generals has a strong passive effect, as you mentioned, but they also each have their own unique retire effect, though why you would ever want to retire from being a general is beyond me. The important aspects of the passive effect are that they stack with generic great general great people, and that unlike great generals, the commandant's combat strength bonus does not have an era limitation attached to it. As for the retire effects, if the commandant absolutely insists on retirement, I will admit that there are many varied and unique benefits from this. Things like a permanent combat bonus boost to various unit types, field promotions for units, and extra governor promotions among many others. Since you get one of these guaranteed every era, I suppose I could see an argument that you may eventually have more than you need and may choose to retire some of them for their bonus.
And your score, General?
Yes, of course. I was so excited to talk about these, I forgot to give my score. Even with the loss of the movement bonus, I will give this amazing bonus a 10. With the movement bonus, it was one of the best conquest bonuses in the game, but even without that, this bonus is still incredibly strong.
Thank you, General. Next up, we have our resident scientist, Albert Hawking, who will give us a rundown on the science rankings. Thank you, Broyar. Honestly, there's not a lot here for science. I've heard that a couple of the commandants would be able to grant trade routes, or as the General mentioned, a free governor title, but given that which commandant you get is random, I don't feel confident in factoring those variables into my calculations. For this reason, I would have to give this leader bonus a 0. I understand, Albert, and I really do appreciate your time. Up next, we turn to world-renowned archaeologist Colorado Smith to get the culture score. You are most kind, Broyar, though I'm sure that my accomplishments warrant your praise. Actually, I was told by your people that the only way you would do this show is if I introduced you that way. It doesn't matter. Please continue with your score, Colorado.
Yes, well, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm going to have to agree with the science guy. There's effectively nothing here for culture beyond the random chance to get a governor title or an extra trade route. I also give this bonus a 0.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. Next up, we have Reverend John Paul Matthews with the religious take on this bonus. What are your thoughts, Reverend Matthews?
Of course, Broyar. I will keep it short and just say that I'm in agreement with Albert and Colorado. There's simply nothing here for religion.
So another 0, I take it?
Yes, most definitely.
All right. Finally, I will provide the diplomatic scoring based on my years of experience interviewing world leaders on this show. Yeah, I've got nothing either. It's another 0 for me too. Okay, up next we have Gran Colombia's civilization ability. It is called Ejército Patriota and provides +1 movement for all units. It is important to note that this applies to all unit types, such as builders, settlers, religious units, and even rock bands. So it's not just a bonus to military units, though that is likely the largest beneficiary. In addition to this, promoting a unit does not end that unit's turn. It is my understanding that this promotion bonus also applies to apostles. Is that correct, Reverend?
Yes, most definitely.
Excellent. Let's get to the scores for this. Though judging by the large grin on the General's face, I'm pretty sure I know where this is going. General?
Why, yes, of course I'm smiling. Why wouldn't I be smiling? This bonus is any general's dream come true. One of the biggest advantages you can have in war is the ability to outmaneuver your opponent. The first part of this bonus absolutely helps with this, but don't underestimate the power of the second part as well. Being able to make a unit stronger, heal it up a bit, and then still move or attack on the same turn can be extremely powerful in almost any situation. For these reasons, I again have to give out a 10 for this bonus.
It definitely sounds like Christmas came a bit early for domination-minded players. Albert, what are your thoughts? Look, I'm not going to mislead you. There are definitely some aspects of the movement bonus that can help with the science victory. Obviously, if a builder or settler can move just a bit faster, you can get cities and infrastructure set up that much sooner and begin to reap those benefits quicker. That being said, I can only give this bonus a 3 at most. How very open-minded of you, Albert. Colorado, what are your thoughts?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I agree with the science guy again. I have a name. Faster movement for builders and settlers can help with culture in a similar manner, and we also get the extra movement for those rock bands that all the kids are listening to these days. I will give them a 3 as well.
And Reverend, what are your thoughts?
Religious movements sometimes result in combat, almost as if we were warriors out on the field of spiritual battle, if you will. For this reason, I can understand some of the general's points and see some commonality between our two otherwise very different worlds. It only makes sense for me to give this bonus a 10 as well. I understand that you have lost many devoted brothers and sisters in spiritual combat. My condolences, Reverend. Peace be with them.
Okay, as for diplomacy, yeah, I've got nothing here either. That's another 0. It's starting to become a bit apparent that Gran Colombia would rather solve differences through conflict instead of peaceful interactions. On that note, it only makes sense to discuss Gran Colombia's unique unit, the Llanero. General Tennant, please give us your strategic analysis for this unit.
Thank you, Broyar. I absolutely love this industrial-era light cavalry unit that replaces the normal cavalry unit. It is important to note that this unit costs the same production as the cavalry unit that it replaces. Not only that, but I'm also told that it requires just as many horses as well. That being said, it is much cheaper to maintain, only costing 2 gold per unit instead of the normal 5 gold. This cannot be underestimated, provided that you can come up with the horses to build them in the first place. Having such a significant discount on maintenance can enable you to field a much larger force of these units. And you'll definitely want a large force, given that their next bonus is that they gain +2 combat strength for each adjacent Llanero unit. Though again, there is another nerf to Gran Colombia with this bonus, in that it used to give +4 combat strength. That's like, well, that's 2... Well, it's a lot of combat strength, that's what it is.
It's 10, General. 2 times 5 is 10.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Albert. Finally, Llaneros also regain all HP when in range of a Commandant General that uses its Retire ability, which reduces your need to pause and regroup greatly between battles. Overall, for a domination victory, I would give this unit a 10 out of 10. I can only imagine how different things would be right now if I had an army of these units behind me at the Battle of Hamburger Helper Hill.
Battle of what? Never mind. Thank you, General. Okay, I am getting word that our on-site architect, Bill the Builder, is at the location of one of Gran Colombia's haciendas with a rundown. Bill, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Broyar. And I appreciate you picking me for this assignment over my cousin Bob.
Actually, we couldn't afford Bob.
I'm sorry, what was that? You broke up a bit.
Nothing. Please continue, Bill.
Of course. Well, the hacienda, like the one you see behind me, is a unique tile improvement that must be built on grassland, grassland hills, plains, or plains hills tiles. It provides the following bonuses: +2 gold, +1 production, plus 0.5 housing, and again, another nerf as this used to be +1 housing. +1 food from every 2 adjacent plantations, which I'm told increases to +1 food for each adjacent plantation with replaceable parts technology. And finally, plantations and haciendas receive +1 production for every 2 adjacent haciendas, increasing to +1 production for each hacienda with rapid deployment technology.
Wow, these improvements sound incredibly powerful. I assume you will want one of these on every tile you can in order to maximize its bonuses?
Yes, Broyar. That is the conclusion I came to as well, especially on the tiles around plantations.
With something this strong, are there any weaknesses that you can see?
Actually, yes. Apparently these can only be built starting in the Renaissance era.
There was something in my notes about the uppity, stuck-up, self-righteous residents of these estates needing works of arts hanging in each of their 10 bathrooms. Note, don't say the uppity, stuck-up, self-righteous part. I think we lost the feed there. Thank you for your colorful commentary, Bill. General, what are your thoughts?
Renaissance era. Son, by the time you can get these, we'll have the enemy right where we want them, and we'll be gearing up for our final push to victory.
Understood, General, but if you had to give them a score, which you do, it's literally in your contract, what would your score be?
I mean, if you're going for a strategy of stretching your world domination out as much as possible to make your enemies suffer a bit longer, I guess I could see a use for these in some of your higher producing cities back on the home front. I suppose you'd be able to take advantage of the gold and production from these to build an even more powerful military. Okay, I'll give this Hacienda a 6.
I believe that's pronounced Hacienda. Thank you, General. Albert, over to you. What are your thoughts? Unfortunately, I'm going to have to disagree with the General's assessment here. I believe that these Haciendas come along at just the right time to enable you to progress into the late game of scientific excellence. The production alone is worth its weight in gold. And that's not to mention the gold itself. I can see a vision of large cities with dozens of these scattered around the countryside, just waiting for the perfect moment to turn all that production into great rocket ships capable of reaching the stars. Well, thank you, Albert, but can you come back down to Earth just for a moment and give us your score? Yes, of course. I give these an 8 out of 10. All right, Colorado, how about we move over to you? What are your thoughts? Look, production is great for a lot of things, and it could definitely help knock out a few wonders here and there, although I don't know where you would put them with all these haciendas all over the place. And who doesn't like gold? I sure do. Gold is great for buying all sorts of culturally significant things. That being said, I don't think I can go above a 6 out of 10 for a culture victory here. These are good, just not great. Thank you, Colorado. What about you, Reverend? What are you seeing from this improvement?
I'm going to be honest with you, Broyar.
Aren't you always?
Yes, of course. Unlike my fellow panel members, I choose not to get too wrapped up in the material things of this world. It distracts from what is truly important. Still, I can't ignore the fact that there are a few world wonders that I wouldn't mind seeing built that could enable us to better spread our faith. It's just not enough, though, so I'm going to have to give this a 2 out of 10.
Thank you, Reverend. For diplomacy, I'm going to give this bonus a 7 out of 10, actually. The increased gold and production would be of great benefit when competing for various world competitions, as well as enabling Gran Colombia to provide financial aid to those in need. Though it did just occur to me that there's likely a good chance that the reason they're in need is because we're conquering them in the first place. Still, should President Bolivar bump his head and choose the diplomatic path to victory, this tile improvement could help quite a bit. Okay, we are going to say goodbye to the panel for a few minutes while I give you the 10,000 foot strategy for this civilization. If you're playing as Gran Colombia, do I really need to spell it out for you? Gran Colombia is all about world domination, and pretty much every bonus they have is focused on this endeavor. You're going to want to settle in places with lots of access to horses, or be ready to trade with your neighbors before going to war with them. As the general mentioned, armies of llaneros led by a combination of commandants and great generals will be nearly impossible to stop. If your opponents do survive long enough to get into the later game, you'll definitely want to put haciendas on every tile that you're able to. Their bonuses begin to stack at a rapid rate the more you build next to each other. Don't be afraid to retire a few commandant generals in order to keep your war machine moving, as you will get another one just around the corner in the next era. As for governments, for the 4-card slot, if you're going for a domination victory, which you should, I would go for oligarchy. Though there might be an argument to be made for temporarily picking up classical republic, at least until you get your first normal great general to be able to stack its bonus with your commandants. For the 6-card slot, if for some reason you decided to go with a religion victory, theocracy is the obvious choice here. I can also see grabbing this if you chose to build the Grand Master's Chapel in your government plaza in order to use some of the faith to buy some of your military. That being said, I think the overall best choice for this slot is the Merchant Republic. Gold can buy a military just as easily as faith can, and opens up some other options as well. And for the 8-card slot, again, since you're going for a domination victory, and you are, aren't you? Fascism seems to be the obvious choice for this slot. That being said, there are specific circumstances that could warrant either communism or democracy. Are your units a bit behind the technology curve? Then pick up communism. Have you lost some units and need to quickly buy some to rebuild? Then go with democracy. And finally, the 10-card slot. Again, since you are going for a domination victory, though I'm not really sure why it's taking you so long and how you actually had enough time to get this far into the civics tree, still, if for some reason you find yourself here, do yourself a favor and pick up corporate libertarianism and finish your enemies up with some nice giant death robots with the extra uranium you'll be getting. Okay, we're going to go ahead and bring President Bolívar in for our exclusive interview. President, I hear your leader agenda is called Carabobo, and that you like other civilizations who have many promoted units. I assume this means that if we want to play nice with you and be friends, that we should build vast armies of elite units.
Al parecer, conocéis tanto de historia como de diplomacia. Vuestro pueblo se beneficia con vuestro gobierno.
Okay. I thought we had a translator this time. No? Okay. Alright, I'm just going to take that as a yes, President, and thank you. Could you please tell us, President, how would you feel about a civilization that has a weak, poorly promoted military?
Vuestra tiranía, si no se controla, llevará la oscuridad al mundo. Y por esa razón, os declaro la guerra.
I apologize, President Bolívar. I did not mean to offend you. Well, if you like it when other civilizations have a big, highly promoted military, and given that that is the best way for us to have a chance of surviving against you, I think we can come to an understanding and have peace between us?
Todo lo que he hecho, lo hice por la nación de la Gran Colombia. Soy un patriota hasta el final.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you for your time, President. I look forward to speaking to you again.
Yo, el presidente Simón Bolívar, os da la bienvenida a la Gran Colombia.
Well, there you have it, folks. Don't be weaker than him, and you might actually have a chance at survival. Might I also suggest that if you're going against Bolívar in one of your games, deal with him early before he starts getting some of his commandant generals and llaneros online. Okay, let's bring our panel back for some final discussion. Panel, can each of you give us your final analysis of Gran Colombia's bonuses and where they rank overall within each of your areas of expertise? General Tenet, let's hear from you first again.
Thank you, Broyar. I'd be happy to give my analysis. Simply put, Gran Colombia is one of the strongest civilizations when it comes to winning a domination victory that I have seen in all my years of doing this. There's just no stopping Bolívar once he gets his war machine moving. The commandant generals, increased movement, powerful units, and yes, even the Hacienda will all work beautifully together to help take over the entire globe. Make sure your stick is bigger and swing it as fast as you can, as my grandpappy, the great British General Lieutenant, used to say. I give this civilization a 10 out of 10 for domination.
Well, who can argue with that? Albert, what are your final thoughts? I didn't even need to break out the calculator for this one, Broyar. Technically speaking, the more cities you take over in conquest, the stronger your civilization will get, and the better able to win a scientific victory before your opponents. That being said, I can't imagine a permutation where Gran Colombia would want to halt their aggression long enough to do so. For this reason, I give them a score of 3.111. Repeating, of course. Would it be okay if we rounded that down to a 3 to keep things simple? If you want to be inaccurate, I guess. It's your show. That's most gracious of you, Albert. Colorado, where are you sitting on overall scoring for Gran Colombia and their ability to win a culture victory? I'm sitting at a dig site? No, it's just a figure of speech. Never mind. Could you please give us your score? Of course. As you well know, I have traveled the world far and wide to seek out all of the ancient treasures that it holds. We cannot, no, we must not forget our culture and where we come from. Colorado. Yes, well, I give Gran Colombia a 1 out of 10, and that's mostly because I'm afraid of giving them a 0. It's a bit irrelevant though, isn't it? From the sounds of it, their culture will be all over the world soon enough anyway, whether we like it or not. Still, I suppose with all of that destruction,
there would be more ruins for me to dig through. Reverend Matthews, please continue with your analysis. Certainly. I remain optimistic that Brother Bolivar can turn from his wicked ways and choose to pursue a more spiritual path to spreading Gran Colombian beliefs across the globe. I think if he would just step back and take a hard look at the possibilities, he would see that his ability to spread his message far quicker than just about any other civilization that I have encountered could provide him with an alternate path to victory. I give him a 5 out of 10. Instead of armies of guitar-wielding soldiers on horseback, I long to see spiritual leaders moving swiftly across the world, spreading the message of peace. Thank you, Reverend. And speaking of peace, I will wrap us up with the diplomatic victory analysis. For diplomacy victory, I've got nothing. President Bolivar's idea of peaceful diplomacy is that he might save you for last in his push for world domination. I know I gave the tile improvement a decent score, but I just don't see any situation where he would intentionally choose that path. Maybe in an alternate universe where he's a peace lover and Gandhi is out throwing nukes at everyone. I'm going to give Gran Colombia a big fat 0 for diplomatic victory. Technically possible, but why? I think it is safe to say that Gran Colombia, led by Simón Bolívar, is one of the strongest domination civilizations we've ever seen. If there's a weakness here, I just don't see it. As some of our panel alluded to, having a strong presence in world conquest can technically set you up to easily win any of the other victory types. But frankly, why would you bother? Go on the offensive early and don't stop until you've taken every last capital. Game over. The end. That's all she wrote. All right, I'm excited to hear what you think about Gran Colombia. Do you agree with our assessment or do you disagree? Please let us know what you think in the comments below. And as always, please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos like this. I do appreciate you watching. May God bless you, and I hope you join me again next time.